Normally we message each other to say, "Are you ready?" But I'm just gonna call them. It's time. I mean, it's 9 o'clock. It's, as they say in the business, showtime. It's really hard to say that to myself or to anyone with a straight face. Hello. This is a podcast in which two friends talk about the pleasures, absurdities, and imperfections of being human. I'm Simon Ellis.
And I'm Lee Miller. Welcome to Midlifing. I was sitting here being all ready and prepared.
And what have you been recording?
The silence of me reading about Chet Hanks, the son of Tom Hanks.
What is there to know about the son of Tom Hanks?
Well, he has two sons. He might have more, but he's got two that are in the public eye. There's Colin Hanks, who is considered to be an all-round good guy. And then there is Chet Hanks, who is considered to be a little bit of a massive douche rag. It seems as though they
Is douche rag, just wait, as douche rag, is there a redundancy in there?
I think a douche rag is for drying up the dribbles of your douching process. I don't know. It's an insult. So I don't think it needs to be, like many things, it doesn't really need to actually have.
Okay.
Anyway, it would appear that Chet and Colin are, they're a long-form experiment in normative determinism.
Normative determinism.
Normative determinism.
What is normative?
Well, that people living up to their names.
Oh, of course it is.
You call somebody Colin, they turn out to be a Colin. You call somebody Chet, they turn out to be a Chet.
But they've both got the same surname, which has some cachet, has some weight.
It has, yeah. But I think there's been stuff said about why is Colin such a nice guy and why is Chet such a ding dong.
So are you? This is not for research. This is not academic work.
This was this was just the first thing that my eyes fell on.
Should I turn the video? Do you mind if I turn the video off?
I would be grateful.
Hey, wait. Have you finished your job?
No.
You've got one more week.
I've got one more week.
But your marking's done.
No, that's the problem. My one more week is almost exclusively marking. So let's just move on. What have you been doing this week, Simon? Oh, that was a big sigh.
Yeah, well, partly because I've been thinking about our introduction to midlifing. But that's not what I've been doing this week. What I've been doing this week is getting quotes for moving.
Oh, right, yes. It's expensive, isn't it?
Whoa!
Yeah.
I had, because we moved more or less the same amount of stuff, maybe a bit more, but not really, from Harrow to here in Barnes in 2009, and it cost £440.
How many thousands have you been quoted so far?
It's almost 2.5, just over between 2 and 2.5.
Yeah.
And then I thought I'd go with man with a van. And interesting that you can get 3 men with a van.
For how much?
And less than half.
Wow, that seems like a bargain.
Well, also because it's not like we've got a whole lot of antique furniture that needs serious looking after, or like there's nothing really like. I mean, what could possibly go wrong? I mean, they could shatter all the glassware that we have, all 4 wine glasses, you know. And given that the the contract that Lil and I have, I don't mean the marriage one. I mean the I'll pack up the house if you pay for the removalists one. Yeah. We're both thinking that men with a van sounds better.
Right. Cool.
You both have quite a lot of stuff in your house, don't you? Would you say that's a fair comment?
I would say that we are not minimalists.
Okay.
I would say that objects are a thing. Yes.
Yes. And so does that, how would you go about if you know, because I assume one day it's going to happen where you decide that you're going to pack up and move permanently to Portugal.
Yeah.
How would you do that?
I suspect we would do it ourselves because we always have done. It's an opportunity to do the Swedish death clean thing, isn't it?
Sure is.
You hold things and you kind of, as you're wrapping them, and also as you're thinking about the number of boxes that you have, you invite yourself to go, do I want to give this box room? As opposed to the things that sort of, I often think about our house a bit like the shore. Things wash up here. And some of those things, that's not fair, because if you haven't been to my house, faithful or unfaithful listeners, you might be imagining that I live in a cluttered palace of junk. I don't.
Yeah, it's true. It's definitely not that. But it's busy, though.
But it is deeply curated.
Yes, I'm thinking of the kitchen in particular, and the things on the sort of shelf.
On the mantelpiece above the fireplace.
On the Yes,
which
exactly.
is no longer a fireplace. It's where the kitchen table lives. Yeah, that is heavily curated, although it is one of the places that Bob and I are about to streamline.
Are you?
We were talking about this while we were... Okay, so we were sitting on our sofa in Lisbon, having done a little declutter of the flat in Lisbon, or as we like to say, we had been editing.
Yes.
But our flat in Lisbon is really quite minimal. We keep things very pared back there. There's not a lot of stuff. It is a 1 in, 2 out policy.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Is that actually that's actually a policy? Something comes in, 2 things have got to go.
It's partly because the space is at a premium. It's a flat in a capital city, so we don't have a lot of floor space.
Yeah. But just how does that work in practice? Meaning, if one of you brings home an armchair, do you just get rid of 2 little things, or do they have to be 2 things that are similar kind of footprint or size?
We would get rid of the armchair that was there, but we would then also kind of go, what about the cushions that were on it?
Right.
So it becomes the gravitational pull around the object that leaves takes something else with it. So as you say,
it's a very good policy. I like that policy. I'd probably want to go 1 in, 4 out, though. I think.
Yeah. I think if you were to see our place in Lisbon, you'd absolutely recognise it being a Bob and Lee place.
Yeah.
But you would also go, oh, this is a much lighter version of Bob and Lee.
Do you prefer it to the heavier version of Bob and Lee?
No, it's not about preferring. It's about... the other week we were talking about the idea that we could hold 2 different perspectives in our heads at the same time, and like within one sentence we can go from one side of the coin to the other side of the coin, and the problem about being in the world is that we tend to think of ourselves as binary.
That is Walt Whitman, isn't it? Do I contradict myself? Very well, I contradict myself. Yeah. Dead Americans. Isn't that a David Bowie song?
Oh, which reminds me, I really want to watch the Gimme Shelter documentary about the Rolling Stones.
Oh, I was thinking about, have you watched the Beatles one? I haven't watched that yet. I know you don't like the Beatles, but
no, that's not
why.
why.
It's very good in terms of about processes.
I hear that. No, I want to watch this because it's about the Ultimate Speedway concert that went horribly wrong. And I read a review of the book called Altamont, and I wanted to read the book, but I also wanted to see the film first. Which are 2 totally separate entities, because I think the Altamont book gives a much more detailed account of what went wrong.
Right.
Whereas the
is it out? Is Gimme Shelter out?
Oh, it's been out for years and years and years and years. It was made by it's made by the documentarians who made the film Grey Gardens.
Right.
Do you know that?
Grey Gardens.
Grey Gardens. Which is kind of in keeping to the conversation that we're having. It's about 2 of Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis's relatives. I think it might have been her cousins.
Yeah.
And they lived in this big crumbling pile called Grey Gardens. And it
was... In the US?
In the US, yes. It was, I think, somewhere... I'm going to go somewhere East New England-y.
Yeah.
And I think it was a mother and daughter. They've become kind of a cult it's a cult film, and then it was turned into a kind of a dramatized version of the film. And I think Jessica Lange and Drew Barrymore starred in it. Little Edie. I think. Yeah. So anyway, it's the same documentary people, and I'm trying to remember. I think they're called the Maisels. The guys who made the documentary. So they're.
So, by the way, it's a 1975 American documentary film by Albert and David Maisels.
There we go. Yeah.
Depicts the everyday lives of two reclusive upper-class women, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah. Little
East
Edie.
Hampton.
Is it? Are they called Little Edie?
Edith Beale.
There we go.
And both named Edith Beale.
And Little Edie is the one. And Little Edie has become this kind of icon, cult camp icon, because of how she spoke, because she spoke in that very kind of Katharine Hepburn-mannered way.
You're right.
Bob and I don't live in a version of Grey Gardens. It's not. It's not that. But yeah, so I don't like our slimmed down house more than I like our maximised house. They're just totally different places. But I was thinking this morning, possibly I was thinking about this because of your imminent move. What's your relationship to furniture?
Yeah, I mean, I do have a question for you, of course, which I'm not going to ask. I'm going to ask now, but you can answer later, which is, if you had to squish your two places into one, how would that work? But anyway, furniture. So, well, just to preface the question, this week I think I tore up, about 400 photographs and cut through all the negatives of those photographs.
Wow.
Yeah, and that was fantastic. It was fantastic fun. It really was. Just this thinking, what are these in my life, these photographs? And mostly these were photographs from analog days, because digital days, they're on hard drive somewhere. Mm-hmm. And I reckon there were about 8 of those, just roll after roll of films, of negatives and prints that I decided to keep. And there are 2 or 3 that I couldn't throw away, meaning I felt like I don't have any need for them, but it just didn't seem right.
Okay.
I mean, I'll give you an example, is that I have 3 or 4 photographs of my father taken, we don't know who, by someone in our family after he died in the bed, and I couldn't tear them up. I mean, obviously, maybe, but...
Okay, that opens a whole different doorway of taking pictures of people after they've died.
Yeah, I thought deeply about it with after Mum died, and it just didn't seem right. And also, partly my relationship to photography has changed so much since those days. I haven't answered your question about furniture, of course.
No, I know, but I think maybe taking pictures of dead people is more interesting than do you like furniture? Do you?
I don't know, maybe.
Do you have, well, it depends what furniture it is and who the dead people are, but do you have an instinct as to why somebody would do that?
Well, they're beautiful photographs, and I'm glad they exist in the world. Which is not answering your question. I don't know, Lee.
Because
it definitely wasn't me.
No, okay.
I've thought about that, and I thought maybe it was me, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't me, and I'm pretty sure it wasn't Mum. I always thought it was Mum that did it. So it's a pretty narrow. There's only 3 other possibilities.
Yeah.
3? Yeah. 4. 3 other possibilities. Yeah.
Because I do understand the idea of. I understand the idea of documenting death. I get that, and there's a really famous picture by the war photographer. Well, she was many things, but she was also a war photographer, Lee Miller. No relation, and it's of a German soldier who is in some water, just underneath the surface of the water, and it is a truly arresting and beautiful image. But Lee Miller was an American who had lived and worked extensively in Europe. She was famous for having been in a relationship with Man Ray, although I don't want to limit her and turn her into only his muse, because she was considerably more than that. But she took this photograph of this she took many photographs, but she took this photograph that I'm thinking of this dead German soldier. And I get what's happening there. There is a moment of trying to find peace and repose in the midst of something difficult. There is a sense of, in death, he is more he becomes more universal than he does in life. All those sorts of things. But also, he's not related to her. He's an object that she has found and is interested in. That's a bit crass to think of him as an object, but you know what I mean. He's a thing to place in front of her lens to tell a particular story.
She's documenting an event.
Yeah, and he is part of the machinations of that event.
Machinations, exactly. Yeah.
But a relative, a close relative, a parent is none of those things, and that's the bit that I was just
stumbling.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and I think I imagine that most people listening right now are probably thinking a similar thing, and I don't have an answer. I took some photos of Mum not long before she died, not of her face. I took them of her hands and the way she was holding on to the railing of the bed and a cross. She was holding onto a cross, and there was something about the kind of perseverance or the will of that grip that I was really shaken and moved by. But I don't know what else to say about it, but except to repeat that I'm very glad that whoever it was in my family that took those photographs, I'm very happy they did that. Yeah, furniture.
Yeah, that's it feels like that going to stuff is it would be a crass course recorrection, but at the same time, it holds, the things that we gather if they don't define us, they at least frame us.
We also seek them out as objects of they fill emptiness to a certain extent as well, don't they? I mean, that's, you might say crassly, that's consumer capitalism, which is the emptiness of our lives filled by stuff or filled with stuff.
Do you feel that that's the case? People who live lightly, do you think they are somehow more enlightened than the people who live a cluttered life?
Well, no, I think, not necessarily at all. I don't mean that. I was being a little crass with the thinking, but I think there is a certain danger in, you might say, the lack of care I've taken in my life. I'll just say, I don't say we, I'd rather just speak about me because I don't want to make assumptions about other people, but that I could have taken a lot more care with the things I chose to buy and the things I chose not to buy. And I still would say that. And in part because I think there's incredible cultural pressure to consume. But I don't know if the answer to your question is, we're pretty good at filling our lives with stuff. When I say human beings, and that those aren't necessarily material things. So I don't think the absence of stuff means equates to more or close to enlightenment, if you understand.
Yeah, I'm really glad that you say that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
it would be a pretty obnoxious thing to say.
Well, it would be, but I think there are people who might hold that space. And because I think stuff and judgment are so intimately connected, aren't they? I mean, when IKEA was launched, what was it? It was launched on the chuck out your chintz. It was launched on the idea that the things that you had were too fussy and you need to be more pared back and Swedish and have streamlined.
Was it really? I don't know.
Yeah, I think that was the advertising campaign. Chuck out your chintz.
I don't even know what chintz is.
Chintz is a kind of fabric. It's kind of a Victorian holdover.
Right.
It's that idea of like it's your grandma's couch, that kind of thing.
Right.
One of our sofas. Oh, bang my headphones against the microphone as I was turning.
We seem to have. This has been an absolutely absurd ramble.
It has been an absolutely absurd ramble. I have no idea how on earth this is going to be turned into a conversation.
Do you think it's possible that it might be turned into a conversation?
Well, look, I hear tell that the guy who edits this is the
really,
genius.
He's rock solid.
I mean, he's a genius. Oh, I didn't finish telling you about the Twig and Berries underpants.
Oh, no!
Which
I want to hear
think
about the
you
Twig
might
and Berries.
enjoy. I think you might really like this. So they are.
Is that what they're called?
No, I can't remember. There's different varieties, but they are designed. They've got like so you put them on, and there's a little pouch to put your balls in, and then above the pouch there's a little hole that you feed your dick through, and it keeps your dick and your balls separate so they don't sweat or rub against one another.
Sorry, I've just found that there's an underwear apparel shop called Twig and Barry.
Is there?
Yeah, and also Twig and Berry Tamer, Up and Undies.
There
Home
you
sewn,
go.
Boxer briefs, upcycle.
So you can keep your balls and your cock separated. I mean, that seems unfair because they spent such a long time hanging out with one another. I would not want to sequester them.
There's also a blog called Twig and Berry. One man's battle with choriocarcinoma and the Singapore sling.
What's choriocarcinoma? Is clearly some kind of cancer.
Stay tuned for post-chemo remission revelations.
What's choriocarcinoma?
I have no idea, but I would strongly suggest that people stick into DuckDuckGo the words Twig and Berry underwear, and it's a feast. It's an absolute feast. Yeah, love it. So can we
Stop recording now?
No, can we sort out that opening? I just find it so annoying, the introduction.
What do you mean?
Well,
You mean your
my
bit?
part. I just think it just sounds like a little bit like because I think it's like this. It's more like, for me, it's more like this is a podcast. Wait, this is a podcast
In which two friends?
Yeah, this is a podcast in which two friends try and figure things out.
Oh, so you want to re-record it?
I mean, do you think that's better? Like,
Listen.
well, this is a podcast in which two friends ramble on about.
Well,
I'm just trying to.
Welcome to Midlifing, a podcast in which two friends talk shit, can't possibly stay on topic, and probably disappoint each other.
I'm Simon Ellis.
And I'm Lee Miller.
Welcome to Midlifing. This is a podcast in which two friends try and I don't know, what do? We
do this.
On,
we get things
we start
all
with a
wrong.
topic,
Yeah. I'm Lee Miller.
And I'm Simon Ellis.
Welcome to Midlifing.
That's better, isn't it?
Let's just do it. If that makes you happy.
I don't really mind.
If that would make you happy, Simon, consider it my early birthday present to you. August the 27th?
No.
8th? 3rd?
No. Yes, well done. You're going to get there in the end.
Oh, 27th. That's Victor's.
But I always forget with you. I think of you as July.
No.
Oh, June.
No,
you're August as well.
Yes.
August 5.
No.
7.
No.
Fuck.
No.
9.
You're going in the wrong direction, but you are
3.
staying... Yes! So you're staying in the right...
I know it was a low-digit odd
chunks.
number.
Yes, a low-digit odd number.
You are a low-digit odd number.
I am, and you're a low-hanging fruit.